begins in the sprawling wilderness of Russia, where survival isn't just a skill but a way of life. Sergei Kraven, a boy of no more than 10, trudges through snow-covered forests beside his father, Nikolai. The cold bites at his cheeks, but he doesn't flinch. His father's shadow looms over him, a constant reminder of the expectations he must meet. Core. Nikolai is a formidable man, broad-shouldered, with a voice that carries authority even in whispers. To him, emotions are a weakness, and failure is a sin. "Your hands are shaking, Sergei," Nikolai growls, his eyes fixed on the boy struggling to steady a bow and arrow aimed at a distant stag. "You want to eat tonight? Then kill it." Nanning. Sergei swallows hard, his breath fogging in the icy air. His mother's voice echoes in his mind. "Kindness is not weakness, my boy. Remember that." But out here, kindness won't save him. The stag moves, and Sergei releases the arrow. It flies true, striking the animal's side. The creature stumbles before collapsing into the snow. Relief washes over Sergei, but his father doesn't smile. "Too slow," Nikolai says. A real hunter doesn't hesitate. The dynamic between father and son is harsh, but it isn't devoid of complexity. Sergei craves his father's approval, yet he resents the constant pressure. His mother, Ariana, is his solace, a warm presence in their otherwise cold home. She teaches him about the delicate balance of nature, explaining that the hunt is not about domination, but respect. One evening, as Sergei sits by the fireplace, his mother places a hand on his shoulder. "Your father sees the world in black and white," she says softly. "But you see the colors. Don't let him take that from you." Nah. Her words linger in Sergei's mind, even as life throws challenges that can threaten to strip away those colors. One fateful night, their family's fragile peace is shattered when a group of poachers descends upon their land. Nikolai and Sergei try to fend them off, but the poachers are ruthless, armed with guns and greed. Amid the chaos, Ariana is fatally wounded while shielding Dmitri, Sergei's younger brother. The sight of his mother's lifeless body burns itself into Sergei's memory. He clenches his fists, his heart heavy with grief and rage. Nikolai, though visibly shaken, offers no comfort. "This is why you must be strong," he says coldly. "The weak perish." From that moment on, Sergei's life takes a darker turn. He vows never to be powerless again, channeling his pain into honing his skills. Hunting becomes more than survival. It becomes an obsession. He learns to track the faintest footprints in the snow, to move without making a sound, and to strike with precision. But even as he excels, he feels a growing void inside him, a loss of the connection to the natural world that his mother cherished. Years pass, and Sergei's reputation as a hunter begins to spread. In local villages, he's spoken of in hushed tones as the Lion of the Fours North. Yet beneath the accolades, Sergei wrestles with inner turmoil. His father's approval, once his driving force, now feels hollow. He finds himself questioning the values instilled in him. Is strength defined solely by the ability to kill, or is there more to it? One day, while tracking a pack of wolves in the forest, Sergei encounters a lone pup separated from its family. It limps, injured, yet defiant. Sergei raises his knife, but hesitates. The pup looks up at him, with piercing eyes that seem to say, "I won't beg." Something in that gaze stirs Sergei's soul. Instead of striking, he kneels and tends to its chew. When Sergei returns home with the pup cradled in his arms, Nikolai scowls. "You're wasting time on a creature that can't fend for itself," he sneers. Sergei looks his father in the eye, unflinching for the first time. "Then I'll teach it to survive," he replies. The moment marks a shift in Sergei's journey. While he continues to pursue the hunt, he begins to see it through a divergent lens, not as a means of proving strength, but as a way to understand his place in the fiat natural order. The boy who once sought his father's approval now seeks something deeper: balance, purpose, and perhaps even redemption for the lives he's taken. This foundation sets the stage for Sergei's transformation into Kraven, the hunter, a man caught between the primal and the humane, the hunter and the protector. Sergei Karvina's legend as a hunter had grown far beyond the icy forests of Russia. Whispers of his unparalleled skill echoed across continents, drawing the attention of those who saw him as both a savior and a menace. By now, Sergei had taken on the life of a mercenary, a man willing to hunt anything or anyone for the right price. For him, it wasn't about the money, it was about the challenge. The thrill of the chase had become his religion, the hunt his sanctuary. One day, while Sergei was resting in a remote jungle outpost, a woman named Calypso easily approached him. She was striking and enigmatic, with dark eyes that seemed to pierce through the layers of his carefully built defenses. Dressed in vibrant robes that seemed to move like flames around her, she was unlike anyone he had ever met. "I hear you are the best," she said, her voice a mix of curiosity and certainty. She didn't ask, she already knew. Sergei leaned back, his eyes narrowing. "Depends on what you need," he replied, his tone guarded. Calypso didn't flinch. Instead, she unfurled a map on the table. Between them, it depicted a sprawling region in Africa, dotted with marks and symbols. "I need you to protect the last of something sacred," she said, tracing a finger over the map. "There are animals in these lands that men like you hunt for sport. But they are not just animals, they are legends, spirits of the wild. I need a hunter who understands the balance." "Yeah." The word balance struck a chord deep within Sergei. He hadn't heard it used in such a way since his mother's teachings. Still, he masked his intrigue with skepticism. "I'm not a conservationist," he said gruely. "If you're looking for someone to play savior, find someone else." "Mifstai." Calypso smiled knowingly, as if she had expected his resistance. "You think the hunt is about domination," she said. "But the greatest hunter doesn't just conquer his prey, he becomes part of the wild. You're searching for something, Sergei." You've been searching your whole life. Me. Her words unsettled him. How did she know? How could she see through the armor he had spent years perfecting? After a long pause, Sergei agreed to the job, not because he believed in her cause, but because he was curious. Curious about her, about this sacred land, and perhaps even about himself. When Sergei arrived in Africa, the landscape took his breath away. The mere golden savannas stretched endlessly, dotted with acacia trees and herds of grazing animals. Mountains loomed in the distance, their peaks kissed by the clouds. The air smelled of earth and life, and the sounds of the wild filled his ears, a symphony of calls, rustling leaves, and distant roars. But beneath the beauty lay danger. Poachers roamed the land in heavily armed groups, driven by greed and the promise of profit. Sergei wasted no time. Within days he had tracked and dismantled several poacher camps, his methods swift and ruthless. He moved like a ghost through the wilderness, striking fear into those who dared exploit it. For the first time in years, Sergei felt a sense of purpose beyond the hunt. Then came the stories of the ghost panther. It was said to be a creature of myth, a shadow that moved faster than the eye could follow. Locals whispered that it was the spirit of the wild itself, a guardian that appeared only to those worthy of its challenge. Sergei's interest was piqued. He had hunted lions, tigers, bears, creatures most men would never dare face. But this was divergent. This wasn't just an animal, it was a legend. Calypso, ever the enigma, seemed to know more about the ghost panther than she let on. One evening, as the two of them sat by a campfire, she poured him a strange herbal potion. The liquid was dark, green, almost black, and it smelled of earth and smoke. "Drink this," she said. "It will help you see the world as it truly is." Sergei hesitated. He wasn't one to trust easily, especially not when it came to things he didn't understand. But something about Calypso, the conviction in her voice, the way she looked at him as if she already knew he would say yes, compelled him. He drank. The transformation was subtle at first. His senses sharpened. Colors seemed more vivid, sounds more distinct. He could hear the rustle of leaves miles away, smell the faintest traces of an animal's path. But it wasn't just physical. Something inside him stirred, a primal force that had been dormant, waiting to be awakened. He felt stronger, faster, more alive than ever before. Yet, with this newfound power came a restlessness, a sense that he was losing something of himself. The hunt for the ghost panther began. Days turned into weeks as Sergei tracked the elusive creature. He found traces, paw prints that seemed to vanish into thin air, claw marks on trees that defied explanation. The panther was toying with him, and for the first time in his life, Sergei felt outmatched. The frustration gnawed at him, but so did the thrill. This was what he had been searching for. A hunt that was more than a test of skill, it was a test of his very soul. Through it all, Calypso watched him, her gaze unreadable. "The hunt isn't just about the prey, Sergei," she said one evening as he paced the camp, restless and agitated. "It's about finding yourself." The question is, what will you see when you look into the mirror? Sergei didn't answer. He wasn't sure he could. Sergei's journey back to Russia was not one of triumph but necessity. After years of wandering and hunting, he found himself drawn back to the place he once called home. The forests of his childhood seemed smaller now, less imposing than they had in his memories. Yet the air carried the same sharp bite of pine and frost, and the sounds of the wilderness, branches creaking, snow crunching, reminded him of the boy he used to be. But Russia wasn't just trees and memories, it was also his brother. Dmitri Kravino had always been different from Sergei. Where Sergei was intense and disciplined, Dmitri was charming and sly. As children, Dmitri had idolized his older brother, following him on hunts and mimicking his every move. Sergei had protected Dmitri from their father's wrath more times than he could count, shielding him from the harsh lessons that had hardened his own soul. When Sergei arrived at Dmitri's estate, he wasn't sure what to expect. The last time they had spoken was years ago, and Dmitri had been a skinny, nervous teenager trying to find his place in the shadow of their family's legacy. But the man who greeted Sergei now was confident and well-dressed, his sharp suit a far cry from the rugged attire of their youth. "Sergei!" Dmitri exclaimed, spreading his arms in a theatrical gesture of welcome. "The great hunter returns. To what do I owe the honor?" The warmth in Dmitri's voice was real, but Sergei couldn't shake the feeling that something darker lurked beneath his brother's polished exterior. Over dinner, Dmitri regaled Sergei with stories of his success in business and his rise in the criminal underworld. He spoke of power, influence, and wealth, his tone dripping with pride. "Everything is a game, Sergei," Dmitri said, swirling a glass of vodka in his hand. "The hunt isn't just for animals. It's for control. And I've learned to play it better than anyone." "Meow." Sergei's jaw tightened. "And what do you hunt, Dmitri? Men? Women? Or maybe creatures that can't fight back?" "Nyars." Dmitri's smile faltered for a moment, but he recovered quickly. "You don't understand, brother. The world is a jungle. You taught me that. I'm just surviving." "Now, sigh." The conversation took a darker turn when Sergei discovered the true end of Dmitri's operations. Hidden behind the facade of legitimate businesses was a sprawling network of illegal wildlife trafficking. Dmitri's men were capturing and selling exotic animals, creatures Sergei had spent his life protecting. Sergei confronted Dmitri late that night, his voice low but filled with ill fury. "Do you even know what you're doing? You're destroying everything we grew up believing in. Everything Mother stood for." "Nay." Dmitri's expression hardened, his charm replaced by defiance. "Don't lecture me about Mother," he snapped. "She protected you, Sergei. But she left me to fend for myself. You think you're better than me because you hunt with honor? At least I'm honest about what I am." "No." The tension between them boiled over into violence. Sergei grabbed Dmitri by the collar, slamming him against the wall. "You're a coward," Sergei growled. "You've traded your soul for power, and you don't even see it." "No, you stole." Dmitri didn't fight back. Instead, he laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "And what about you, Sergei? You're no saint. You kill for sport, for glory. Don't pretend you're any errant from me." "No?" The words cut deep because Sergei knew there was truth in them. He released Dmitri and stepped back, his hands trembling. For a moment, the brothers stared at each other, the weight of their shared history pressing down on them. "You can't save me, Sergei," Dmitri said quietly, almost sadly. "And I don't need you to." "May?" Sergei left Dimitri's estate that night, his heart heavy with anger and guilt. The bond they once shared felt irreparably broken, and yet Sergei couldn't bring himself to give up on his brother completely. Dmitri was right about one thing: Sergei had his own darkness to face. As he walked away from the life his brother had built, Sergei made a vow. He would continue his fight, not just for the animals Dmitri exploited, but for the soul of the boy he once protected. The hunt was far from over, and this time it was personal. In the days following Sergei's confrontation with Dmitri, he couldn't escape the gnawing sense of unease. Memories of their argument played over and over in his mind, each word like a knife twisting deeper into his chest. He thought about Dimitri's accusations, about the darkness they both carried but expressed in different ways. Was he really so different from his brother? The question lingered like a shadow, refusing to be ignored. Sergei retreated to the wilderness, seeking solace in the untamed world that had always been his sanctuary. He wandered deep into the forests, where the air smelled of pine and damp earth, and the only sounds were the rustling leaves and distant calls of animals. He carried no gun, no bow, only a knife and his instincts. For the first time in years, Sergei wasn't hunting for glory or survival. He was searching for himself. As he moved through the forest, Sergei began to notice things he hadn't before. The way a hawk circled overhead, its movements deliberate and graceful. The way a fox darted through the underbrush, its coat blending seamlessly with the shadows. Every creature had a purpose, a role in the intricate web of life. Sergei felt a pang of guilt. How many lives had he taken without understanding their real significance? One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, Sergei stumbled upon an ancient oak tree. Its gnarled branches reached skyward like twisted fingers, and its trunk was scarred with marks that told stories of storms and time. Beneath the tree, he found an old, weathered carving, symbols etched into the bark that he couldn't quite decipher. It was then that Calypso appeared, as if summoned by the forest itself. She moved silently, her presence both calming and unsettling. "You've been running," she said, her voice soft but firm. Sergei looked up at her, his expression guarded. "I'm not running. I'm thinking." "Now," Calypso smirked, crouching beside him. "Thinking won't save you. Action will. But first, you need to understand what you are." "That's true." Her words struck a nerve. Sergei stood abruptly, his fists clenched. "And what am I, Calypso? A killer? A monster? You seem to think you have all the answers." "No." She didn't flinch at his anger. Instead, She reached into a pouch at her side and pulled out a small vial filled with a dark, shimmering liquid. "You are a hunter," she said, holding the vial out to him. "But the greatest hunters are not just men, they are something more. Drink this, and you'll see." Sergei hesitated, the memory of the last potion she had given him flashing through his mind. That concoction had sharpened his senses, made him feel invincible. But it had also left him restless, as if awakening a part of himself he didn't fully understand. "What is it?" he asked, his voice wary. "A gift," Calypso replied, "and a curse. It will show you the truth, Sergei. The truth about the hunt, about yourself. But be warned, once you see, you cannot unsee." "Now I shall." Despite his reservations, Sergei took the vial. He uncorked it, the sharp, earthy scent filling his nostrils. With a deep breath, he drank. The transformation was immediate and overwhelming. Heat surged through his veins, his heart beat pounding like a war drum. His vision blurred, then sharpened, the world around him bursting into vivid detail. He could see the veins in the leaves above him, hear the heartbeat of a rabbit hiding nearby, feel the vibrations of the earth beneath his feet. But it wasn't just his senses that changed. Sergei felt something ancient stir within him, a force that was both primal and powerful. Images flashed through his mind, visions of predators stalking their prey, of battles fought in the wild, of life and death intertwined in an endless dance. He saw himself not as a man, but as part of that dance, a predator among predators. When the vision subsided, Sergei collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. Calypso knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "You are no longer just Sergei Kravino," she said. "You are Kraven, the hunter. The line between man and beast is gone. Embrace it, or it will destroy you." "Neen." Sergei looked up at her, his eyes burning with a newfound intensity. He didn't fully understand what had happened to him, but he knew one thing. He could never go back to who he was before. The wilderness had claimed him, reshaped him, made him something more, and something less than human. As the first howl of a wolf echoed through the forest, Sergei stood, his resolve hardening. He was no longer just a man seeking purpose. He was a force of nature, bound to the hunt in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. And though he didn't know what lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain. The hunt was only beginning. The wilderness had always been Sergei's home, but now it felt different. The forest wasn't just alive around him, it was alive with him. Every step he took felt more deliberate, every sound sharper, every scent more vivid. The transformation Calypso had triggered wasn't just physical. Sergei's mind was changing too. He could sense the rhythm of the forest, as if it were guiding him, challenging him to prove he was worthy of the title he now bore, Kraven, the hunter. But the hunt before him wasn't just another chase. The ghost panther was unlike any creature Sergei had encountered. The locals spoke of it in hushed tones, a being of legend rather than flesh and blood. "It's not an animal," one elder had said, his voice trembling. "It's a spirit." It will only show itself if it deems you worthy. This wasn't just about skill or strength. This was about something deeper. The ghost panther wasn't prey to be caught, but a challenge to be met. For the first time in years, Sergei felt something akin to fear. Not of failure, but of the unknown. Days turned into weeks as Sergei tracked the elusive creature. He followed trails that seemed to vanish into thin air, paw prints that led to nowhere. He found claw marks on trees that were impossibly high, as if the panther had climbed straight into the heavens. The forest seemed to conspire against him, throwing obstacles in his path. Treacherous terrain, sudden storms, and the ever-present danger of other predators. But Sergei was relentless. He studied the patterns of the forest, the movements of its creatures. He learned to read the signs the ghost panther left behind, subtle markers that seemed almost intentional, as if it were testing him. One night, as Sergei sat by his campfire, Calypso appeared once again, her presence as enigmatic as ever. She didn't speak at first, simply watching him with those piercing eyes that seemed to see straight into his soul. Finally, she broke the silence. "You're closer than you think," she said, her voice soft but certain. Sergei looked up at her, his face shadowed by the firelight. "It's toying with me," he said, frustration evident in his tone. "It knows I'm here. It's leading me on." "Now?" Calypso smiled faintly, sitting down across from him. "The ghost panther is testing you, Sergei. It wants to see if you're worthy, not as a hunter, but as an equal. You've spent your life chasing, conquering, taking. This hunt is different. This time, you must earn its respect." Her words lingered in Sergei's mind as he prepared for what he knew would be the final stretch of the hunt. He let go of his usual tactics, relying instead on instinct and intuition. He stopped trying to outsmart the panther and began moving with the forest, becoming part of it, rather than an intruder. And then, one moonlit night, it happened. Sergei had climbed to the top of a rocky outcrop, the forest sprawling beneath him like an ocean of shadows. The air was cool and still. The air was cool. Only sound the distant chirping of crickets. As he scanned the landscape, he felt it before he saw it, a presence powerful and commanding. The ghost panther emerged from the shadows, its sleek, black form almost blending into the night. Its eyes glowed like embers, piercing and unyielding. It didn't run, didn't hide. It simply stood there, watching him with an intelligence that seemed almost human. Sergei's breath caught in his throat. This wasn't just an animal. It was something more. Something sacred. Slowly, he descended the outcrop, moving carefully so as not to startle the creature. Every step felt like a lifetime, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. When he finally reached the clearing, panther didn't flee. Instead, it held his gaze, its eyes reflecting the moonlight. For what felt like hours, they stood there, man and beast, locked in a silent exchange. Sergei felt a strange sense of understanding pass between them, as if the panther were looking not at him, but into him, seeing everything he was and everything he could be. He didn't draw a weapon. He didn't move closer. He simply stood his ground, allowing the panther to decide his fate. Finally, the ghost panther let out a low, rumbling growl, not of aggression, but of acknowledgement. It turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Sergei alone in the clearing. But he didn't feel alone. For the first time in his life, Sergei felt at peace. The hunt wasn't about the kill. It was about connection. Understanding the delicate balance between predator and prey, man and nature. As he returned to his camp, Sergei knew he had been changed by the thrill encounter. He wasn't just a hunter anymore. He was something more, something stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the world around him. The ghost panther had accepted him not as a conqueror, but as an equal. And for Sergei, that was the greatest victory of all. After his encounter with the ghost panther, Sergei felt a profound shift within himself. The wilderness that had once been his battlefield now felt like his ally, its rhythm pulsing in time with his own. The panther hadn't just spared him, it had accepted him, and with that acceptance came a new understanding of his role in the natural order. Sergei began to see the forest through different eyes. Where he once saw prey, he now saw life interconnected, each creature playing its part in a delicate balance. The thought of disrupting that balance for sport or pride sickened him. He had spent years chasing trophies, proof of his dominance over nature. But now, those trophies felt hollow, mocking reminders of a life lived out of sync with the world around him. It was in this state of introspection that Sergei stumbled upon his first test as a protector. One crisp morning, as the sun's rays filtered through the trees, Sergei heard a commotion in the distance. The cries of a distressed animal carried through the forest, sharp and urgent. Instinctively he followed the sound, moving swiftly but silently. When he arrived at the source, what he saw ignited a fury within him. A group of poachers had cornered a young bear cub. The animal, barely old enough to fend for itself, cowered against a tree as the men closed in, their rifles gleaming in the sunlight. They laughed as they taunted the cub, taking their time to line up the perfect shot. Sergei's blood boiled. These men were not hunters. They were scavengers, parasites feeding on the beauty of the natural world. Without respect or honor, he stepped into the clearing without hesitation, his imposing figure startling the poachers. "Leave," Sergei growled, his voice low and threatening. The men hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. One of them, clearly emboldened by the presence of his companions, sneered. "Who do you think you are, old man? This is none of your business." Sergei's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "It is exactly my business." Without giving them time to react, Sergei moved. He was faster than they could have imagined, a blur of muscle and precision. He disarmed the first man with a single fluid motion, snapping the rifle in and half as if it were a twig. The second man lunged at him with a knife, but Sergei sidestepped effortlessly, delivering a blow that sent the poacher sprawling. The remaining men scattered, realizing they were no match for the force of nature standing before them. Sergei let them go, knowing they would carry the memory of their humiliation far longer than any physical wounds. When the clearing was silent once more, Sergei turned his attention to the cub. The little bear trembled, its wide eyes filled with fear. Sergei crouched low, speaking softly to the animal. "You're safe now," he murmured, his voice gentle. The cub seemed to understand, its trembling subsiding as it watched him with cautious curiosity. Sergei stayed with it until it regained its ease, strength, ensuring it was safe, before guiding it back toward the deeper forest where it would be protected. That encounter was a turning point for Sergei. He realized that his strength, his skills, everything he had honed over the years, could be used not to dominate but to defend. He had spent so long proving himself as a hunter that he had forgotten what it meant to truly honor the hunt. In the days that followed, Sergei became a guardian of the forest. He dismantled poaching traps, confronted illegal hunters, and worked to restore balance to the wilderness. Word of his presence spread among those who sought to exploit the land, and soon the forest became known as a place of danger, not for its animals, but for those who threatened them. But it wasn't just the animals Sergei protected. He found himself drawn to the local villages where the people lived in uneasy harmony with the wilderness. They told stories of the ghost of the forest, a mysterious figure who defended the land and its creatures. Sergei didn't correct them. He preferred to remain a shadow, a silent force, ensuring the safety of both the forest and its inhabitants. One evening, as Sergei sat by his campfire, Calypso appeared once again. She watched him for a moment before speaking. "You found your purpose," she said, her tone tinged with both pride and curiosity. Sergei nodded, his gaze fixed on the flames. "I was always meant to be a hunter. I just didn't understand what that meant until now." "There." Calypso smiled, her eyes gleaming with approval. "The hunt is not about taking. It's about balance, respect, and connection. You've learned that. But there's more to come, Sergei. The world is bigger than Nan. This forest and its challenges are far greater." Her words stayed with him long after she disappeared into the night. Sergei knew she was right. The forest had given him a new sense of purpose, but his journey wasn't over. There were more battles to fight, more lessons to learn. As he gazed up at the stars, Sergei felt a quiet determination settle over him. He was no longer the man who hunted for glory or revenge. He was Kraven the hunter, protector of the wild, and his story was just a beginning. Life in the wilderness had become Sergei's solace, a place where he could exist without the chaos of humanity intruding upon his newfound sense of purpose. But peace, as Sergei was learning, was fragile, especially when the outside world decided it wanted something from the untouched beauty he now protected. It began with a faint disturbance, something subtle that Sergei's sharpened senses picked up long before it became visible. The animals in the forest were uneasy. Birds flew in erratic patterns, deer lingered in places they usually avoided, and even the predators seemed restless. Sergei, attuned to the rhythm of the land, knew something was wrong. When the first sound of machines echoed through the forest, metal against stone, engines rumbling, his suspicions were confirmed. The four outsiders had arrived. From a high ridge, Sergei watched as a convoy of trucks wound its way through the dense underbrush, their tires carving deep scars into the furs. Earth. Men in hard hats and reflective vests moved with a sense of purpose, their gestures sharp and efficient. They carried surveying equipment, marking trees with bright spray paint and driving stakes into the ground. At first, Sergei wasn't sure what their intentions were. Were they explorers, loggers, poachers? But as he observed them from the sound shadows, their plans became clear. They weren't here for the forest. They were here for what lay beneath it. The land was rich with resources, veins of rare minerals buried deep within the earth. The outsiders had come to exploit those riches, and they would tear apart the forest to get to them. The realization filled Sergei with a cold rage. The wilderness was his home, a place he had come to understand and protect. The thought of it being destroyed by men who saw it only as a commodity was unbearable. That night, Sergei moved silently through the camp the outsiders had set up on the forest's edge. He studied their equipment, their routines, their vulnerabilities. It wasn't just anger driving him, it was strategy. He knew that confronting them directly would only bring more of them. To stop them, he would need to send a message loud enough to echo beyond the trees. The first strike was swift and decisive. Under the cover of darkness, Sergei sabotaged their machinery, rendering their drills and vehicles useless. He moved with the precision of a predator, leaving no trace of himself behind. When the workers awoke to find their equipment in ruins, panic rippled through the camp. They said this place was cursed, one of them muttered, his voice trembling. Maybe they were right, but the sabotage wasn't enough. The outsiders didn't leave. They brought reinforcements. Armed guards arrived, their rifles slung over their shoulders as they patrolled the camp. Sergei watched them from the shadows, his mind racing. He couldn't fight them all, not without risking the balance he was sworn to protect. It was then that he remembered the ghost panther. The creature had taught him a lesson about respect and understanding, about the power of the wild to inspire awe and fear. Sergei realized he didn't need to fight the outsiders directly. He needed to make them fear the forest itself. Over the next few days, Sergei used the land to his advantage. He set traps that seemed to spring from the earth itself, leading the guards to believe the forest was alive and fighting back. He left marks on trees and rocks, claw marks and symbols that mimicked the panther's ancient carvings. He made noises in the night, low growls and rustling, sounds that sent shivers down the spines of those who heard them. The workers grew paranoid, their fear feeding on the legends they had heard about the forest. "This place isn't right," one of them said, his voice shaking. "We'd to leave." Nah. The guards tried to maintain order, but even they began to feel the weight of the forest pressing in on them. It wasn't just Sergei they were fighting. It was the wild itself. When the first worker disappeared, a man who had wandered too far from the camp and stumbled into one of Sergei's traps, the panic became uncontainable. They found him the next morning, unharmed, but shaken, babbling about glowing eyes in the darkness. The company sent word back to their headquarters requesting more resources and personnel. But the message was clear. The forest wasn't worth the cost. Within days, the outsiders packed up their rare camp and retreated, their machinery left abandoned. As the last truck disappeared down the dirt road, Sergei stood on the Taurus ridge, watching them go. He felt a sense of satisfaction, but also a lingering sadness. He had won this battle, but the war was far from over. The wilderness would always be at risk, threatened by those who saw it only as a means to an end. But Sergei wasn't just a man anymore. He was Kraven, a protector, forged by the wild. He would fight for the forest, for its creatures, for the delicate balance that made it whole. And he would do so without hesitation, no matter the cost. As the sun set and the forest returned to its natural rhythm, Sergei turned and disappeared into the trees. The wilderness was safe, for now. But he knew his journey was far from over. The peace Sergei had fought so hard to protect didn't last. It never did. The forest was alive again, thriving in the absence of the outsiders, but Sergei's instincts warned him that this was only a reprieve. He knew the world beyond the trees was vast and unrelenting, and those who sought to exploit the wilderness would eventually return, more determined than before. What he didn't expect was that his next challenge wouldn't come from men with machines, but from something far more dangerous, a force that blurred the line between the natural and the supernatural. It began with whispers in the wind, carried by the villagers who lived near the edge of the forest. They spoke of strange occurrences, livestock disappearing without a trace, shadowy figures glimpsed at the edge of the tree line, and an unnatural stillness that seemed to settle over the land at dusk. At first, Sergei dismissed these stories as superstition. The forest was vast and untamed, filled with predators both seen and unseen. But as the stories grew more frequent, and the fear in the villagers' eyes became palpable, Sergei decided to investigate. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, and the forest was bathed in twilight, Sergei ventured toward the areas where disturbances had been reported. The air was thick with tension, and even the usual sounds of the forest, chirping insects, rustling leaves, seemed muted. As he moved deeper into the woods, Sergei felt it. A presence. It was subtle at first, like the faint prickling of his skin, but it grew stronger. With every step he took, the air seemed to hum with an energy he couldn't quite explain, and the shadows cast by the moonlight felt almost alive. Then he saw it. In a clearing surrounded by ancient trees, a creature unlike any Sergei had encountered prowled. It was massive, its body a grotesque fusion of fur and scales, its eyes glowing a sickly yellow. It moved with a predatory grace, its claws digging into the earth with each step. This was no ordinary beast. It was something otherworldly, a predator, born of nightmare and myth. Sergei watched from the shadows, his breath steady but his heart pounding. He could feel the power emanating from the creature, a raw, primal energy that seemed to challenge everything he knew about the natural world. This wasn't just a threat to the forest, it was a threat to the delicate balance Sergei had sworn to protect. The creature snied the air, its massive head turning in Sergei's direction. For a moment, their eyes met, and Sergei felt a chill run down his spine. The beast didn't attack, but it didn't flee either. Instead, it let out a low, guttural growl, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the forest. Sergei knew he couldn't confront the creature head-on, not yet. He retreated into the trees, his mind racing. This was a challenge unlike any he had faced before. The creature was intelligent, powerful, and seemingly unbound by the rules of nature. Over the next few days, Sergei studied the creature from a distance, tracking its movements and observing its behavior. It was clear that the beast wasn't merely hunting. It was asserting dominance, staking a claim over the forest as if it were its own territory. The villagers grew more desperate, their fear spilling over into anger. They begged Sergei to kill the creature, to rid them of the nightmare that haunted their nights. But Sergei hesitated. He had learned from Fui, the ghost panther, that not every predator was a monster, and not every hunt was about destruction. He sought counsel from Calypso, who appeared as if summoned by his thoughts. She listened intently as he described the creature. Expression unreadable. "This is no ordinary beast," she said finally, her voice tinged with both curiosity and caution. "It's an aberration, something born of imbalance. Its presence here is a sign that the natural order is in danger." "No." Sergei frowned. "And what am I supposed to do? Kill it?" Calypso's eyes narrowed. "Killing it may not be enough. This isn't just about the creature. It's about what it represents. To face it, you must understand it. To defeat it, you must become more than you are." "No, see." Her words lingered in Sergei's mind as he prepared for the inevitable confrontation. He knew she was right. This wasn't just another hunt. This was a test of everything he had learned, everything he had become. As the days passed, Sergei began to see the creature not as an enemy, but as a reflection of the chaos that threatened the world he loved. It was a force of nature, twisted and corrupted, but still bound by the same primal instincts that guided all living things. When the time came to face the beast, Sergei felt no fear. He was no longer just a man. He was Kraven the hunter, the protector of the wild, and he would fight not for glory, but for the balance that gave the forest its life. The battle would be brutal, a clash of predator against predator, but Sergei knew it was a fight he could not afford to lose. Not for himself, but for the forest, the villagers, and the delicate harmony that tied them all together. The night Sergei faced the creature, the forest seemed to hold its breath. The usual chorus of nocturnal life was replaced by an oppressive silence, as though the earth itself knew that something momentous was about to occur. Sergei stood at the edge of a moonlit clearing, his body taut with readiness, his senses sharp as the edge of the edge. A blade. The beast emerged from the shadows, its glowing yellow eyes cutting through the darkness like twin torches. It was even more imposing up close, a grotesque fusion of strength and savagery. Its fur bristled like a mane of flames, and its scaled underbelly gleamed with a sickly wine. Every movement it made radiated power, and every breath carried a guttural growl that seemed to shake the ground. Sergei felt a flicker of doubt, but he forced it down. He had prepared for this. He was armed not with weapons forged in steel, but with it. Knowledge, strategy, and a deep connection to the land he sought to protect. The creature circled him, its movements deliberate and calculating. Sergei mirrored its pace, his eyes locked on the beast, studying its kennel. Every twitch and motion. This wasn't just a fight, it was a duel, a meeting of two apex predators, each testing the other's resolve. Finally, the beast lunged, its claws slashing through the air with deadly precision. Sergei moved instinctively, his body reacting faster than his mind. He rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike, and countered with a precise blow to the creature's flank, using a sharpened spear made from the forest's own resources. The spear struck true, but the creature barely flinched. Instead, it turned on Sergei with a roar that echoed through the trees, its eyes burning with fury. Sergei's mind raced. The beast was stronger than he had anticipated, its body seemingly impervious to conventional attacks. But Sergei wasn't just any hunter. He had learned from the forest, the ghost panther, from every challenge that had shaped him. He knew that strength alone wouldn't win this fight. He needed to think like the predator he had become. He led the creature deeper into the woods, using the terrain to his advantage. He maneuvered through narrow ravines and over unstable ground, forcing the beast to expend energy as it pursued him. He set traps along the way, carefully concealed snares and pitfalls designed to slow the creature down. Each time the beast fell into a trap, it roared with rage, its primal fury shaking the very trees around them. But Sergei didn't let up. He attacked with precision, striking vulnerable points and retreating before the creature could retaliate. The battle raged for what felt like hours, the forest itself bearing witness to their clash. Sergei's body ached, his muscles screaming with exhaustion, but he refused to give in. He couldn't. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for everything he had come to believe in. As dawn began to break, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, Sergei realized he had driven the creature to the edge of the forest. The beast was panting heavily now, its movements slower, its eyes less focused. It was wounded, both physically and mentally, its dominance challenged by an opponent it couldn't overpower. In the light of the rising sun, Sergei saw the creature for what it truly was, a being of chaos, born from imbalance and desperation. It wasn't evil, it was a product of a world out of sync, a manifestation of the damage humanity had inflicted on the natural order. Sergei lowered his spear, his breathing ragged. "Enough," he said, his voice firm but not unkind. The creature paused, its massive form trembling with exhaustion. For a moment, they stood in silence, two predators recognizing each other's strength and purpose. Then slowly, the beast retreated. It disappeared into the shadows, its glowing eyes fading like dying embers. Sergei didn't pursue it. He had won, not by killing, but by asserting his place in the balance of the case. Forest. Ghost. As the first rays of sunlight warmed his battered body, Sergei felt a profound sense of peace. He had faced the chaos and emerged victorious, not because he was stronger, but because he understood the harmony that bound the world together. He returned to the villagers, who greeted him with awe and gratitude. They saw him not as a man, but as a guardian, a protector of the wild. But Sergei didn't stay long. His place was in the forest, among the fair trees and the creatures he had sworn to defend. The reckoning had passed, but Sergei knew his journey was far from over. The balance he had fought to restore was fragile, always at risk of being disrupted. But as long as he drew breath, he would stand as its guardian, a hunter not of prey, but of purpose and peace. In the weeks that followed the battle, the forest slowly returned to its natural rhythm. The tension that had gripped the land eased, and the terror creatures that called it home resumed their lives without fear. For Sergei, this was the victory he had fought for, not triumph over the Koimore beast, but the restoration of harmony to the world he had come to love. Yet, something within him had shifted. The height had not only tested his strength and resolve, but also solidified his purpose. Sergei had entered the wilderness as a man seeking redemption, but he had emerged as something more, a guardian of balance, a bridge between humanity and nature. The villagers, once fearful of the forest and its mysteries, now looked to Sergei with reverence. He was no longer just a man in their eyes, was a protector, a symbol of the wild's untamed spirit. They came to him not with demands, but with orderings of respect, woven baskets of fruit, carved wooden talismans, and quiet prayers whispered at the forest's edge. Sergei accepted their gestures with quiet humility, but kept his distance. He understood that his place was not among them. The forest was his home now, its creatures his companions, its balance his responsibility. He had found peace in solitude, but it was a solitude enriched by purpose, not loneliness. As the days turned into weeks, Sergei began to notice changes in himself. His senses, already heightened, seemed to reach new levels of acuity. He could hear the faintest rustle of leaves, feel the subtlest shifts in the wind, and see in the dark as though the moonlight itself guided his path. It was as if the forest had granted him its favor, marking him as one of its own. But with this newfound connection came a deeper understanding of the challenges ahead. Sergei knew the forest's enemies wouldn't stay away forever. Greed, ignorance, and the relentless march of progress would always pose a threat. He couldn't protect the wilderness by brute force alone. He needed to become a symbol, a story that would outlast him. One day, as Sergei sat by the river that wound through the heart of the forest, he found himself reflecting on the path that had brought him here. He thought of his father, of the lessons taught with harsh words and brutal tests. He thought of the beast he had faced, a creature of fear, of chaos, born from imbalance. And he thought of Calypso, whose wisdom had guided him when he was lost. It was in that moment that Sergei realized his role wasn't just to protect the forest. it was to teach others to respect it. He would share the lessons he had learned, not with lectures or commands, but through his actions. By living in harmony with the wild, by embodying its strength and resilience, he would inspire others to see the world as he did, not as a resource to be exploited, but as a living, breathing entity deserving of care and reverence. The first test of this resolve came sooner than he expected. One afternoon, Sergei heard the distant rumble of engines, a sound that sent a ripple of unease through the forest. Climbing to a high vantage point, he saw a group of men entering the forest, their trucks laden with equipment. They weren't the same company as before, but their intentions were clear. Sergei didn't act immediately. Instead, he observed them, noting their worry patterns and motivations. Unlike the previous group, these men seemed less organized, more desperate. They were poachers, seeking to profit from the rare animals that called the forest home. Rather than confront them directly, Sergei used the forest itself to drive them out. He created illusions of danger, leveraging his intimate knowledge of the land to confuse and disorient them. He moved through the trees like a shadow, his presence felt but never seen. By the time the poachers abandoned their immorts, they were convinced the forest was haunted, a place where no man was welcome. This victory, though small, reinforced Sergei's belief in his mission. He didn't need to fight every battle with violence. His greatest weapon was the forest itself, and the respect it commanded when its power was unleashed. As the sun set on another day, Sergei stood at the edge of the forest, looking out toward the horizon. The world beyond the trees was vast and filled with challenges he couldn't yet see. But he wasn't afraid. He had found his purpose, not as a hunter seeking trophies, but as a protector seeking balance. The forest had given him a second chance, and he would honor it for as long as he lived. And so, Sergei Kraven the hunter, disappeared into the forest wilderness, his figure swallowed by the shadows of the trees. But his legend remained, whispered by villagers, feared by those who sought to harm the wild, and celebrated by those who understood its beauty. The forest was safe, for now, and as long as Kraven walked its paths, it always would be. The Kraven the Hunter movie is a rare gem in the superhero genre, carving out a unique identity that transcends the typical action-packed fare audiences have come to expect. Instead of adhering to a formulaic narrative of good versus evil, the film takes a bold, introspective approach, delving into themes of redemption, humanity's relationship with nature, and the psychological complexities of its protagonist. It's a film that leaves an indelible mark not because of its spectacle, but because of the questions it dares to ask and the how emotions it manages to evoke. One of the most compelling aspects of Kraven the Hunter is its own portrayal of Sergei Kraven, not merely as a villain or anti-hero, but as a deeply flawed and multidimensional character. The decision to explore his origins and transformation into a protector of the wild is both refreshing and necessary in today's landscape of superhero cinema. Too often, villains in comic book adaptations are reduced to caricatures, embodiments of malice with little depth or relatability. This film breaks that mold by presenting Kraven as a man shaped by his past, driven by his principles, and ultimately redeemed by his choices. From the opening scenes that showcase his strained relationship with his father, we are invited to understand the pain and anger that fuel his early life. His journey is one of introspection and growth, a powerful reminder that redemption is possible, even for those who have strayed far from the path of righteousness. What makes Sergei's character arc particularly impactful is the way it mirrors the struggles we all face in reconciling our past with our present. His initial pride and ruthlessness give way to vulnerability, empathy, making his transformation not only believable but deeply moving. At its core, Kraven the Hunter is more than just a story about a man. It's a meditation on the fragile balance between humanity and nature. The film's setting, a sprawling, vibrant forest, serves as both a character and a backdrop, emphasizing the importance of preserving the world's natural beauty. In an era where environmental issues dominate global discourse, the movie's message feels particularly timely. Sergei's evolution from a hunter to a guardian underscores the need for humanity to reassess its relationship with the natural world. The film doesn't preach or moralize. Instead, it weaves its themes seamlessly into the narrative, allowing the audience to reflect on their own attitudes toward nature. This thematic depth sets the movie apart from other entries in the genre. It challenges viewers to think critically about their own roles in perpetuating or disrupting the balance of the world around them. By the time the credits roll, Kraven the Hunter leaves us with more than just entertainment. It leaves us with a sense of responsibility. Visually, the film is a masterpiece. The cinematography captures the raw, untamed beauty of the wilderness, juxtaposing it with the chaos of human interference. Each shot feels meticulously crafted, drawing the audience into the world of the forest and immersing them in its sights and sounds. The action sequences are equally impressive, not because of their scale, but because of their intimacy. The battles are choreographed with precision, emphasizing strategy and skill over brute force. This approach not only aligns with Sergei's character, but also heightens the tension, making every confrontation feel personal and consequential. The score deserves special mention as well. It blends tribal rhythms with orchestral grandeur, creating a soundscape that mirrors Sergei's duality, a man caught between the primal and the civilized. The music doesn't just accompany the scenes, it elevates them, amplifying their emotional weight and drawing the audience deeper into the story. No film is without its imperfections, and Kraven the Hunter is no exception. Some might argue that its deliberate pacing and introspective tone may not appeal to those seeking a more conventional superhero experience. The lack of a clear-cut antagonist or grandiose climactic battle might leave some viewers wanting more. However, I would argue that these perceived shortcomings are precisely what make the film stand out. It's not afraid to take risks to prioritize storytelling and character development over spectacle. In doing so, it offers something rare, a superhero film that feels grounded, authentic, and emotionally resonant. What makes Kraven the Hunter truly remarkable is its potential to spark meaningful conversations. By portraying a character who evolves from a destroyer to a protector, the film challenges societal norms about power, masculinity, and our role in the natural world. It's a story that feels particularly relevant in today's context, where issues of climate change, deforestation, and biodiversity loss are more pressing than ever. The film doesn't just entertain, it inspires. It encourages audiences to see themselves as stewards of the earth, capable of both harm and healing. In a sea of superhero movies, Kraven the Hunter shines as a beacon of awe, originality, and depth. It's a film that doesn't rely on flashy EX or convoluted plots to leave an impact. Instead, it focuses on what truly matters: compelling characters, meaningful themes, and a story that resonates long after the credits roll. For those willing to embrace its unconventional approach, Kraven the Hunter offers a cinematic experience that is as thought-provoking as it is thrilling. It's a film that reminds us of the power of redemption, the importance of balance, and the beauty of the natural world. Message that feels more vital now than ever. In the end, Kraven the Hunter isn't just a movie. It's a reflection of our shared humanity and our collective responsibility to the world we inhabit. It's a story worth telling, and one that I believe will be remembered as a standout in the genre for years to come. The Kraven the Hunter movie offers a fascinating dive into the Marvel universe, presenting a fresh and introspective take on one of its most complex characters. This film explores Sergei Kraven's evolution, giving audiences a nuanced portrayal of a man torn between his primal instincts and his emerging sense of duty. The movie stands out as a character-driven narrative, eschewing the traditional good versus evil formula. It delves into Sergei's upbringing under his ruthless father, shaping his identity as a hunter. The film skillfully portrays his internal conflict, showcasing his transformation from a predator seeking dominance to a protector striving for balance. A significant aspect of the movie is its focus on environmental themes. By setting much of the story in the wilderness, the filmmakers highlight the beauty and fragility of nature. This serves as both a backdrop and a metaphor for Sergei's journey, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all life. The cinematography captures the lush landscapes with breathtaking detail, immersing viewers in the untamed world Sergei navigates. The use of natural light and vibrant colors enhances the storytelling, making the forest feel alive and integral to the narrative. The creature Sergei confronts symbolizes chaos and imbalance, adding a layer of depth to the movie. Rather than portraying it as purely evil, the filmmakers explore its origins and purpose, reflecting humanity's impact on the natural world. This nuanced depiction challenges traditional notions of villains and heroes. Performances are a cornerstone of the film's success. The lead actor's portrayal of Sergei is deeply compelling, capturing his physicality, vulnerability, and inner turmoil. Supporting characters such as Calypso provide wisdom and emotional resonance, grounding Sergei's transformation in human connections. The score blends tribal and orchestral elements, creating a soundscape that mirrors Sergei's dual nature. It intensifies the chordy, emotional and action-packed moments, ensuring the music feels as integral to the film as the visuals and dialogue. While the movie diverges from typical superhero tropes, it also includes intense action sequences. These moments are choreographed with precision, emphasizing strategy and intelligence over brute force. This approach aligns with Sergei's identity as a hunter who respects his prey. Critically, the film has sparked conversations about its environmental message and character-driven approach. While some fans may miss the spectacle of more traditional superhero films, others have praised its depth and originality. Kraven the Hunter challenges viewers to think beyond entertainment, offering a thought-provoking exploration of humanity's relationship with nature and the possibility of redemption. It is a bold and distinctive entry in the Marvel cinematic landscape, carving a unique path that resonates with audiences on multiple levels. Kraven the Hunter is a bold departure from the standard superhero fare, offering a richly layered story that explores themes of redemption, identity, and humanity's relationship with nature. Directed with a meticulous eye for detail, the film brings a lesser-known Marvel character to the forefront, presenting a narrative that is as introspective as it is action-packed. At the heart of the movie is Sergei Kraven, played with remarkable depth by the lead actor. This portrayal captures the complexity of a man shaped by a brutal upbringing and driven by an obsessive need to prove himself. From the outset, Sergei is introduced as a fierce hunter, his worldview colored by his father's harsh lessons about strength and dominance. The film takes its time unraveling Sergei's psyche, portraying his transformation from a predator to a protector. This shift is gradual and believable, allowing the audience to empathize with a character often seen as a villain in the broader Marvel universe. The performance is raw and vulnerable, making Sergei's journey resonate on a deeply human level. What sets Kraven the Hunter apart is its focus on themes that feel both timely and universal. The story grapples with the consequences of humanity's exploitation of nature, using Sergei's evolution as a metaphor for the need to restore balance. This is not merely a tale of good versus evil, it is a meditation on harmony, responsibility, and the possibility of redemption. The creature Sergei faces serves as a powerful symbol of chaos, imbalance, embodying the destructive consequences of unchecked interference in the natural world. Rather than reducing this antagonist to a one-dimensional monster, the film adds depth by exploring its boring origins, forcing Sergei and the audience to confront uncomfortable truths. Visually, Kraven the Hunter is stunning. The cinematography captures the wilderness with breathtaking beauty, immersing the audience in a world that feels alive and untamed. The forest is not just a backdrop, but a character in its own right, its presence shaping the tone and narrative. The action sequences are meticulously crafted, emphasizing strategy and intelligence over sheer spectacle. Each fight feels personal, reflecting Sergei's skills as a hunter and his growing respect for the natural world. These scenes are complemented by a hauntingly beautiful score that blends tribal rhythms with orchestral grandeur, heightening the emotional stakes. The film's slower, introspective pacing may not appeal to everyone, especially those expecting a more traditional Marvel experience. However, this deliberate approach is what makes Kraven the Hunter stand out. It prioritizes character development and thematic depth over flashy set pieces, resulting in a movie that lingers in the mind long after the credits roll. Kraven the Hunter is a daring and thought-provoking entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It offers a compelling character study, stunning visuals, and a narrative that challenges audiences to think beyond the confines of the genre. While it may not cater to everyone's tastes, it is undeniably a film with heart, depth, and purpose. For those willing to embrace its unconventional approach, Kraven the Hunter is not just a movie, it's an experience that redefines what superhero stories can achieve. Before diving into Kraven the Hunter, it's important to understand the broader context of the Marvel Universe and the character's place within it. Sergei Kraven, known as Kraven the Hunter, is a classic Marvel Comics character who has often been a nemesis of Spider-Man. While the movie reimagines his origin story, a brief recap of his comic book background and his connections to other Marvel characters can enhance the viewing experience. Kraven the Hunter was introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man #15 in 1964, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Born Sergei Kraven, he was raised in a Russian aristocratic family that fell into poverty after the Russian Revolution. This difficult upbringing hardened Sergei, turning him into a resourceful and skilled individual. He eventually became a world-renowned hunter, known for his unmatched ability to track and take down even the most dangerous animals. His prowess wasn't just due to his physical skills. Kraven often relied on strategy, patience, and an almost mystical connection to the natural world. Seeking the ultimate challenge, Kraven turned his attention to Spider-Man, whom he saw as the most elusive prey. In the comics, Kraven's obsession with Spider-Man is a defining trait. He doesn't just want to defeat the Wallcrawler, he wants to prove himself superior, often seeing the hunt as a test of his own worth. This obsession leads to some of Marvel's most iconic storylines, including Kraven's Last Hunt, where he temporarily defeats Spider-Man and takes on his identity to prove his dominance. Kraven isn't a typical supervillain with cosmic powers or high-tech gadgets. His abilities are rooted in his hunter's training and a special herbal serum that enhances his physical attributes. The serum, derived from jungle plants, gives Kraven superhuman strength, speed, agility, and heightened senses, making him an even more formidable tracker and combatant. Despite his enhancements, Kraven's true strength lies in his tactical mind. He meticulously plans his hunts, studying his prey's behavior and environment to outwit them. This makes him a unique and unpredictable adversary, even for superheroes like Spider-Man. Before his solo film debut, Kraven has appeared in various animated series, video games, and fan discussions about potential live-action adaptations. He's been a fan-favorite character for years, often cited as one of Spider-Man's most intriguing foes due to his rich backstory and complex motivations. In animation, Kraven has been featured in shows like Spider-Man, the animated series, and The Spectacular Spider-Man, where his obsession with hunting Spider-Man is a central theme. In video games, he's often depicted as a cunning and dangerous opponent, emphasizing his hunter's mindset. Kraven's story is deeply tied to other characters in the Marvel Universe. In the comics, he's part of the Kraven family, a lineage that includes several notable members, such as his half-brother Dmitry Smerdyakov, the Chameleon, and his children, including his son Alyosha and Alyosh, daughter Anna Darded. His association with the Chameleon is particularly important, as Dmitry often serves as a catalyst for Kraven's actions. Together they've formed alliances and orchestrated schemes that challenge Spider-Man and other heroes. Kraven's adversarial relationship with Spider-Man is his most famous connection, but he has also crossed paths with other Marvel heroes and villains, including Black Panther, Khazar, and Daredevil. His role as a hunter and protector of the natural world places him in unique situations, often blurring the lines between hero and villain. The movie reimagine's Kraven's origin story, offering a more grounded and introspective take on the character. While the film is not directly tied to Spider-Man, it retains Kraven's core traits: his hunter's prowess, his deep connection to nature, and his struggle with identity and redemption. Audiences should expect a fresh perspective that stands apart from the comics while honoring the essence of the character. The film positions Kraven as an anti-hero, exploring his transformation from a ruthless predator to a protector of balance. By understanding Kraven's roots in Marvel lore and his connections to the wider universe, viewers can better appreciate the nuanced storytelling and the thematic depth of Kraven, the Hunter. The movie promises to be a compelling exploration of one of Marvel's most fascinating characters, offering both longtime fans and newcomers a thrilling journey into the wild. The success of Kraven the Hunter lies not only in its storytelling and direction but also in the stellar performances of its cast. Each actor brings depth, emotion, and authenticity to their roles, elevating the film into something extraordinary. Let's explore the contributions of the main actors who brought these characters to life. Aaron Taylor Johnson's portrayal of Sergei Kraven is nothing short of transformative. Known for his versatility and dedication, Taylor Johnson fully immerses himself in the role, delivering a performance that captures the raw intensity and emotional vulnerability of Kraven. From the very first scene, it's clear that he has poured his heart and soul into embodying this complex character. Physically, Taylor Johnson is a commanding presence. His rigorous training for the role is evident in his movements and physicality. Kraven's hunter persona requires a combination of brute strength, agility, and calculated precision, and Taylor Johnson brings all of these qualities to the forefront. Whether he's stalking prey in the dense jungle or engaging in hand-to-hand combat, every action feels purposeful and authentic. However, what truly sets Taylor Johnson apart is his ability to convey the psychological depth of Kraven. Sergei is not a typical hero or villain. He's a man wrestling with inner demons, seeking redemption for past wrongs. Taylor Johnson masterfully portrays this internal struggle, using subtle facial expressions and body language to communicate emotions that words cannot. The pain of his fractured relationship with Weish, his father, the guilt over his past as a ruthless hunter, and the growing realization of his role as a protector. All of these layers come through in his performance. One of the standout moments in the film is a quiet, introspective scene where Kraven reflects on the choices that led him to this point. Taylor Johnson's delivery is restrained yet powerful, allowing the audience to feel Sergei's turmoil. It's a testament to his skill as an actor that he can make even the stillest moments captivating. Taylor Johnson's commitment to the role goes beyond the physical and emotional. In interviews, he has spoken about his efforts to understand Kraven's connection to nature and the importance of portraying him as a man of integrity, even in his darker moments. This dedication is evident in every frame of the film, making his portrayal one of the most compelling aspects of Kraven the Hunter. Ariana DeBose brings a magnetic presence to the role of Calypso, a mystical and enigmatic figure who plays a pivotal role in Kraven's journey. Known for her Oscar-winning performance in West Side Story, DeBose once again proves her range and charisma, delivering a performance that is both grounded and otherworldly. Calypso serves as a spiritual guide and moral compass for Sergei, helping him navigate his transformation from a hunter to a protector. DeBose portrays her with a mix of strength and vulnerability, making Calypso a character who is as intriguing as she is relatable. Her chemistry with Taylor Johnson is palpable, adding emotional weight to their interactions. DeBose's portrayal of Calypso is rooted in authenticity. She approaches the character with a deep understanding of her cultural and mystical significance, ensuring that Calypso feels like a fully realized individual rather than a mere plot device. Her performance is imbued with a sense of wisdom and empathy, making her an integral part of the film's emotional core. One of the most memorable scenes featuring DeBose is when Calypso confronts Kraven about his past. Her delivery is both fierce and compassionate, challenging Sergei to confront his mistakes while offering him a path toward redemption. It's a powerful moment that highlights DeBose's ability to balance intensity and tenderness. Russell Crowe delivers a formidable performance as Nikolai Kravino, Sergei's father and a key figure in shaping his worldview. Crowe brings a commanding presence to the role, portraying Nikolai as a complex and deeply flawed individual. As a ruthless patriarch, Nikolai instills in Sergei the values of strength, dominance, and survival. Crowe's performance captures the character's harshness and unyielding nature, making him both intimidating and pitiable. Through his interactions with Sergei, we see the profound impact of Nikolai's upbringing on his son, both in terms of the trauma it causes and the resilience it fosters. Crowe's nuanced portrayal ensures that Nikolai is not merely a villain, but a man shaped by his own struggles and insecurities. His scenes with Taylor Johnson are charged with tension as the father-son dynamic is explored in all its complexity. Crowe's ability to convey both authority and vulnerability makes Nikolai a compelling character and a crucial part of Sergei's story. Alessandro Nivola takes on the role of the film's primary antagonist, a figure who represents the destructive forces Sergei must confront. Nivola's performance is chilling and captivating, bringing a sense of menace and unpredictability to the character. What makes Nivola's portrayal stand out is his ability to humanize the human antagonist. Rather than playing the role as a one-dimensional villain, he infuses the character with motivations and vulnerabilities that make him feel real. This adds depth to the conflict, making it more than just a battle of good versus evil. Nivola's scenes with Taylor Johnson are particularly gripping, as the two actors play each other's intensity. The antagonist's ideological clash with Sergei is at the heart of the film, and Nivola's performance ensures that this conflict is as thought-provoking as it is thrilling. The supporting cast of Kraven, the Hunter, also deserves recognition for their contributions. Each actor brings authenticity and nuance to their roles, enhancing the film's world-building and emotional depth. While the movie is centered on Sergei's journey, the ensemble cast ensures that every character feels significant and fully realized. From Sergei's allies to his adversaries, each performance adds to the richness of the story, creating a cinematic experience that is both intimate and expansive. J.C. Chandor, the director of Kraven the Hunter, has built a reputation for crafting compelling, character-driven stories that explore the complexities of human nature. Known for films like Margin Call, 2011, All Is Lost, 2013, and A Most Violent Year, 2014, Chandor's directorial style is marked by a deep focus on characters, moral dilemmas, and the tensions that arise from human ambition and vulnerability. His transition to a Marvel movie might seem unconventional at first glance, but it is precisely this unique perspective that makes Kraven the Hunter such a standout film in the superhero genre. Chandor's approach to storytelling has always been grounded in realism and emotional depth. Even in the most high-stakes scenarios, his films prioritize the humanity of their characters, delving into their motivations, fears, and inner conflicts. This is a quality that resonates deeply in Kraven the Hunter. Instead of focusing solely on spectacle and action, Chandor takes the time to explore Sergei Kravino's psychological journey, creating a film that feels as much like a character study as it does a superhero movie. For Chandor, Sergei's transformation from a ruthless predator to a protector of balance was the heart of the story. In interviews, Chandor has spoken about his fascination with anti-heroes and morally ambiguous characters, figures who are neither wholly good nor entirely evil. Kraven fits this mold perfectly, and under Chandor's direction, he becomes a deeply layered and relatable protagonist. Chandor's commitment to authenticity is evident in the way he brings Kraven's world to life. He immerses the audience in the wilderness, making the environment a central character in the film. The natural landscapes are not just backdrops, they are integral to the narrative, reflecting Sergei's internal struggle and his evolving relationship with nature. This thematic depth is a hallmark of Chandor's filmmaking, and it's one of the reasons Kraven the Hunter feels so distinct from other Marvel entries. Chandor's ability to draw out exceptional performances from his cast is another key factor in the film's success. He has a reputation for fostering a collaborative and creative environment on set, allowing actors to fully inhabit their roles. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays Sergei, has spoken about how Shandor encouraged him to explore the emotional layers of the character. Shandor's direction allowed Taylor Johnson to balance Kraven's physicality with his vulnerability, resulting in a performance that feels both powerful and nuanced. Similarly, Ariana DeBose, Calypso, and Russell Crowe, Nikolai Cravino, have credited Shandor with helping them find the emotional core of their characters. Shandor's attention to detail and his focus on character relationships ensure that every performance in the film is grounded and authentic. One of Shandor's most significant contributions to Kraven the Hunter is its visual and thematic coherence. The film's aesthetic is striking, with lush, untamed landscapes serving as both a setting and a metaphor for Sergei's journey. Shandor worked closely with the cinematographer to create a visual language that emphasizes the raw beauty of nature, using natural light and earthy tones to immerse the audience in Kraven's world. The environmental themes in the movie are another testament to Shandor's vision. Kraven the Hunter is not just a story about a man. It's also a story about humanity's relationship with the natural world. Shandor weaves these themes seamlessly into the narrative, using Sergei's transformation as a way to explore the consequences of exploitation and the importance of balance. This approach adds depth to the film, making it resonate on a thematic level as well as an emotional one. Taking on a Marvel project posed unique challenges for Shandor, who had previously worked on smaller, independent films. The scale and expectations of a superhero movie are vastly different, requiring a balance between creative freedom and the constraints of a larger franchise. However, Shandor rose to the occasion, bringing his distinctive voice to the film while respecting the character's place within the Marvel Universe. One of the film's triumphs is its ability to feel both intimate and epic. Shandor's direction ensures that the story remains focused on Sergei's personal journey, even as it unfolds against a larger action-packed backdrop. This balance is no small feat, and it's a testament to Shandor's skill as a filmmaker. With Kraven the Hunter, J.C. Shandor has redefined what a superhero movie can be. By prioritizing character development, thematic depth, and visual storytelling, he has created a film that stands apart from its peers. It's a bold and refreshing entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one that challenges audiences to think and feel rather than simply watch. Shandor's work on Kraven the Hunter cements his reputation as a director who is unafraid to take risks and push boundaries. His unique perspective and unwavering commitment to storytelling have resulted in a film that is not just entertaining but deeply impactful. For fans of Marvel and cinema alike, Kraven the Hunter is a testament to what can be achieved when a visionary director is given the reins to explore new territory. A conclusion of that length is extraordinary and uncommon, as most conclusions aim to succinctly summarize the key points of a discussion or analysis in a few hundred words. However, if you're aiming for an extended reflection or deep dive on Kraven, The Hunter as a movie, its themes, characters, performances, direction, and cultural impact. I can craft something comprehensive. Let me provide you without a substantial and thoughtful conclusion. Kraven the Hunter is more than just another entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a bold exploration of human nature, morality, and the complex interplay between man and the environment. At its core, the movie is a character-driven masterpiece that pushes the boundaries of what a superhero, or in this case, anti-hero, film can achieve. It transcends the traditional expectations of the genre, offering audiences a story that is as emotionally resonant as it is visually stunning. The journey of Sergei Kraven, portrayed with gripping authenticity by Aaron Taylor Johnson, is a testament to the power of nuanced storytelling. Sergei is not a conventional hero. He is flawed, deeply scarred by his past, and wrestling with an identity that is constantly in a flux. His transformation from a ruthless predator to a protector balance mirrors the universal human struggle for redemption and purpose. Taylor Johnson's performance is a revelation, capturing the raw intensity and vulnerability of a man on the brink of self-discovery. J.C. Chandor's direction is another cornerstone of the film's success. His ability to weave character-driven narratives into larger-than-life settings allows Kraven the Hunter to stand out in a crowded field of old superhero movies. Chandor's commitment to authenticity, whether in the emotional depth of the characters or the breathtaking realism of the film's natural landscapes, creates an experience that feels deeply immersive and profoundly human. The supporting cast, including Ariana DeBose as the mystical Calypso and Russell Crowe as the domineering Nikolai Kraven, elevates the film with performances that are rich in complexity and emotion. Each character serves a purpose, contributing to Sergei's journey in meaningful ways. The dynamics between these characters are charged with tension and pathos, reflecting the intricate relationships that define our own lives. Thematically, Kraven the Hunter delves into issues that resonate far beyond the confines of the screen. Its exploration of environmental stewardship, the consequences of exploitation, and the quest for balance in a chaotic world speaks to pressing global concerns. The film challenges its audience to reflect on humanity's role in the natural order and the cost of our relentless pursuit of power and dominance. Visually, the movie is a triumph. The cinematography captures the untamed beauty of nature, using it as both a setting and a metaphor for Sergei's internal journey. The action sequences are meticulously choreographed, serving as extensions of the character's emotional states rather than mere spectacles. Every frame of the film is imbued with purpose, reflecting the meticulous care that went into its creation. But perhaps what makes Kraven the Hunter truly remarkable is its charming willingness to embrace ambiguity. It doesn't offer easy answers or tidy resolutions. Instead, it presents a protagonist who is as conflicted and multifaceted as the world he inhabits. This refusal to conform to traditional hero-villain dichotomies is a refreshing departure from genre conventions and a reflection of the complexities of real life. As a piece of cinema, Kraven the Hunter stands as a testament to the testament power of storytelling to entertain, provoke, and inspire. It is a film that invites its audience to engage with its themes on a deeper level, owning a narrative that lingers in the mind long after the credits roll. In the broader context of the Marvel Universe, Kraven the Hunter represents a bold step forward. It demonstrates that superhero films can be more than just blockbuster entertainment. They can be profound explorations of character, morality, and the human condition. It sets a new standard for what the genre can achieve, paving the way for more films that prioritize depth and authenticity over spectacle for its own sake. In conclusion, Kraven the Hunter is a cinematic triumph that defies expectations and redefines the possibilities of its genre. Through its compelling characters, thought-provoking themes, and masterful direction, it delivers an experience that is both deeply personal and universally resonant. It is a film that not only entertains, but also challenges and inspires, leaving a lasting impact on its audience and solidifying its place as a landmark achievement in modern filmmaking. If you'd like me to expand further on any specific aspect of this conclusion or explore additional dimensions of the movie, feel free to let me know.